What's up, everyone? Good morning. Jeff from Physical Therapy here. So this is going to kind of serve as a couple different purposes for this. Certainly a Q&A session. So if you have questions, whether it be related to training, whether you're an adult or an athlete, training modifications, training around injuries, specific injury management, performance recovery. I mean, we can answer kind of a lot of different topics, and I'll either answer them here, or if it's a question that needs a little bit more in-depth response, I'll answer at a later point in time in a separate video. It's a little more detailed. But a couple things I want to talk about today, and mainly because I this is personally what I just over, let's say, the last couple of years have experienced, and I know there's others that experience it out there, is how you go about shifting your training priorities during a busy season of life. So for me, that was essentially when we once started having kids and whatnot. And this is not meant to be the, oh, it's so hard now because I have family, this and that. Like who cares? Like, go out and just get your work done. Like, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to resonate and just speak on a true, speak from the true side of things in terms of how you continue about training, not to make it, oh, I'm so busy, my training has suffered this and that. Like, that's not the time, that's not the place I want this to become. I think there's a little bit too much of that out there on social media. This is for those that are still, hey, listen, I have other stuff going on in life, but I want to continue training hard. So how do we go about that? So again, when we talk about these busy seasons of life, if you're a new parent or anything like that, like obviously sleep is going to be compromised. There are going to be other stresses that come up. If you are a business owner and whatnot, and it or like myself, and it all kind of relies on you, like there's obviously different challenges and stresses of that. Especially when we were first starting out, like that was part of it and whatnot. And that was really when I kind of first noted, okay, my training priorities have to change to a degree. Training has been a big part of my life for pretty much forever, as long as I can remember, even, I mean, back to middle school and whatnot in some capacity. And it's a very large part of my life. So a big focus was, okay, how do I continue doing this while respecting the other sides of things that are coming up? Because really, at the end of the day, and I've talked about this in the previous video, is what we talk about the bucket of life. You have a bucket, let's print a bucket here. And in that bucket is your resources or things that are competing for your energy, whether that is physical or mental, emotional, whatever that might be. That could be your job. That could be, financial. That could be, it could be, family, busy, couple weeks with family events, whatever that might be or whatnot. So there's a lot of, and it's not like competing in a negative sense, just a matter, you got a lot going on. So, and so I kind of look at the bucket of life, and there are times where, that bucket gets filled up more in one area than the other. So again, if you just, new parent or whatnot, like the lack of sleep, not sleep, but a lack of sleep is going to take up a large part of your physical and mental bucket more than anything. So what that means then is, okay, like, the easiest low hanging fruit is, okay, I got to kind of mitigate my training, because training is a stress more than anything. And we want to make sure, like any stress is, we don't want to underload, we don't want to overload. We want to kind of find that sweet spot right there more than anything. So with that, a lot of it comes down to what your priorities are. So are you someone that is, hey, you know what? I like to run. I don't like to lift as much, but I know it's important. Do I have to cut down from running from 4 days a week to 3 days a week? Do you just find, hey, if I run 4 days a week, it just leaves me feeling beat up in terms of all the other stuff that's going on. And now I'm kind of worrying about I have to take more days off and things like that. So it's finding that sweet spot. For me, it was a matter of I like strength training. That's always what I've been. I do conditioning as well. But I will say, like, the first thing I kind of realized is, okay, I have a lot of this other stuff going on. I want to strength train. But if I strength train and try to load up on a running side of things, like just longer, slow distance and whatnot, I can't recover as well as I like to. Or I can get to my next lift, but I just feel like I don't feel good as I go into my next lift. I just don't feel fresh and whatnot. So that was kind of the first thing for me. I was like, okay, well, I got to back down on that a little bit. Maybe add in just some, from a kind of quote unquote conditioning side of things, more kind of body weight circuit type stuff, instead of the kind of long, slow runs. Or if I do have some longer, slow runs, then maybe I just do more tempo work. So it's kind of more tempo is, I mean, in this case, we'll just say interval work more than anything at a sub-maximal level. Tempo runs are more from the track and field side of things, which is what I do. But for this purpose of the video, we'll just talk about sub-maximal interval runs, not all out intervals. So you might go for 70% intensity for 65, 70% intensity for 20 seconds. It should be faster than a jog, but not enough where you are like hands on the knees, keeled over after it. And then I'm kind of just doing an active walk for 40 to 60 seconds. So a 1-to-2, 1-to-3 work to rest ratio. And then I'm repeating that for a certain number of reps. And it doesn't leave me feeling beat up. It leaves me feeling like, okay, I got out, I accomplished something, and I'm going to kind of live to go and lift another day more than anything. So that's an important thing to I think talk about because a lot of times what I see, and this is more kind of what I see from the injury side of things, where people are like, oh well, I used to be able to train, like this, and I can't do it anymore. Well, something has to be wrong, and that's just not that's not the case. Like it is normal for the human body as we get older to not be able to tolerate the stresses that we did when we were, younger in high school. And like I just from the standpoint of like, I know for me, I can't handle the training volume I did in college when I was competitive Olympic weightlifting, below average, I should say, competitive Olympic weightlifting, but nonetheless, that was a period of my life. I can't I don't have the time to spend 2 hours in the gym. I have 30-minute sessions times that's really all I have. And that's for strength sessions. And then I just can't handle the volume of doing that. I tried to do that last year and I got overloaded very quickly. That was a wake-up call. Like, man, okay, this is a different part of this. And if I want to be able to train for the long term, like I have to change how I go about this. And I think the easiest way to think about kind of how we look at training from that standpoint as we get older is what I kind of call like punching the clock. And that doesn't mean you're just kind of lazy, moping through and whatnot. Like you go in, you keep the intensity high. You're not burning it to the ground. Like you're not done with a session saying, "Oh my God, I can't. I feel like I couldn't lift another rep or whatnot." But you leave that session feeling somewhat fatigued, like somewhat tired, but not fatigued, like you're crushed for the rest of the day. And I think that's like fine. I think that's a sweet spot for many adults is finding that middle ground where it's like, okay, I can get in, I could do my work, I hit what I need to hit, and then I get out. And that's more from the strength side of things. And that honestly for me is how I go about is how I go about my training now and how I think as we just naturally get older, how we should. Again, the intensity still has to be high. Like I'm not saying you just like are slugging it along and just you're kind of just going through the motion with this and that. Like I think sometimes people hear punch the clock and that's what they think more than anything. But you do still have to keep the intensity high, but within reason. Again, not just burning it to the ground from that standpoint. So that's kind of one thing that I like to kind of talk about there. And I talked a little bit about this in the past, and I will say this: like I am not like I don't like it's gonna come from, I guess, a little bit of a weight loss, and that's not like what I do. I'm not a weight loss expert, anything like that. I mean, the nutrition side of things that I know is very just like it's very basic. Like I'm not deep into that and whatnot. It's more just from kind of the personal side of things, what I've just found for myself, and just from kind of what like being around athletes at a high level more than anything. But a lot of times when people are like, oh, I got to lose weight or whatnot, and this is gonna be talked also from an injury standpoint, is I got to start running a lot more than anything. Now, this could be an individual that hasn't run in 10 to 15 years. And a lot of times when we think of running, and this is not an anti-running thing and whatnot, it's more a matter of what's the best method of going about accomplishing a goal that still leaves you the ability to accomplish other goals after that fact more than anything. And for most people, if they haven't really done much either running or impact work for a long time, then starting there is probably not in my opinion, is probably not the best spot from that standpoint. Um, and I think it's for a couple things. Is one, the joint to a degree, joint and tendons of certain areas are not used to that level of impact. And again, it's not a matter of the task that's the issue. It's the quick ramping up of injuries from that standpoint. And that's how I see joints get overloaded. That's how we see tendinopathies occur, is when you just have a very abrupt spike in intensity or volume, either over a short or moderate amount of time. So in that case, say you have someone that does want to run. Well, I'm going to more so say, hey, listen, all right, here's how we're going to break this down for so you can get your kind of conditioning in more than anything. Take two, maybe 3 days a week of just more of that tempo run, the interval work, because that will, to a degree, decrease the total number of impacts. It'll be at a little bit higher intensity where you are going to have a little more efficient of a running economy. And then the other days of the week, walk, like get your work in that way. I think that's one of the best things you can do from a weight loss standpoint of just getting more steps in and getting moving. That's all it comes down to is getting moving more than anything. Whether that's, hey, you got to go buy $150 walking pad treadmill on Amazon or whatever that might be. It's just go walk. For so many people, that alone is going to be low hanging fruit where they're just not moving much at all, and just get them walking a couple times a week. And for someone that's really deconditioned, like yes, we want to be lifting and all that stuff and whatnot, but I might just tell them, hey, just go walk. Don't worry about the other stuff. Just do this for me. Just go walk for 2 to 3 weeks and just let's go from there. You want to start building habits. That's a lot of what training is, just building habits in the right direction more than anything. So again, it's not really like it's just one of those things where I only say that because I see it from the standpoint of people that start ramping up their volume for a specific goal, whether that's, hey, I want to go back to competing lifting, or I want to get into running to get more in shape, or do this and that. Like there are many roads that lead to Rome, and it's gonna be different for each person. You could have two people do the same exact workout. One's gonna feel great after it, one might not feel so great after it. And that could be either just because that's just what their body doesn't like, or they might have a certain previous injury history that is that is XYZ. They can't do this because of this hamstring injury, or whatever that might be, more than anything. So again, I think this is just more just general topics to talk about. It's gonna I know it came up of the weight loss thing. That's not my expertise, not what I talk about much at all. But I just bring that up because that is sometimes the context that the kind of running versus walking for getting in shape comes up more than anything. And I just think there are better ways to go about preparing individuals for that task and get them to that point. So again, probably do some type of like Q&A like this, once a week, once maybe every other week. I'm not really sure. I'm going to kind of see where this goes more than anything. We can answer a lot of questions in the comment section for certain videos, but if you have questions on this stuff, just go ahead and drop them in the chat here. And again, we'll either get back to them in the chat, or in the video or future videos, or we'll make a separate video on them.